to call the January 2026 Mobility Board meeting to order. And we will start with roll call. Bob Garrity. Here. Lisa Hearn.
Here.
Erin Malavi Babb.
Here.
Elizabeth McCabe.
Here.
Don Reagan.
Here.
And we have our staff liaison, Rudy Sukol. Here. Our commission liaison, Mr. Flynn.
Here.
And our representative from Gateway Engineers, Mr. Haberman.
Here.
All right. With that, does anyone have a motion to approve the December meeting minutes?
Make a motion.
Any second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have approved December's meeting minutes. We will start with citizen comments. When your name is called, please come to the front of the room and state your name and address. If there are folks on the line, please raise your hand and we'll ask you to unmute yourselves. You'll have 5 minutes to address the board. We'll start with the folks in the room with Bob Stinner.
Hello, my name is Bob Stinner. I recently moved in at 422 Fruithurst Drive in Sunset Hills, and I just had a question, really. Just curious as to why all of the intersections are not four-way stops. Well, two questions. There's that, and then the second part of the question was, what would be the process to at least ask about having speed humps or something put in? Because I know people, I just noticed that I've only been there since June. People kind of fly past my house. They kind of fly down Broadmoor. And I know that that's, people park there to take their kids to school down the street. So I was just kind of curious about those two items.
I mean, I can let Mr. Haberman or Mr. Sukol speak to the four-way stop, but I imagine most of the streets historically didn't have any stop signs, and stop signs were only added relatively recently. There's usually stop signs warrants that are required, but yeah, I don't know if there's more context to add there. You know, I think it is scattershot at best is the reasoning. I've been over there a lot recently to go to Howell, and I've also wondered the same thing because it's kind of unpredictable as a driver as well. So that's one part of it, just status quo, that's what it has been. Regarding traffic calming, there's an existing policy right now on the website where you go and get petitions from your street or block. I won't say it's the best iteration, but it's the only iteration right now to request traffic calming, and then it'll go, if it comes to the board through that process, we'll review and then make a recommendation to study or the speed, and then there's a whole process from there. That's what exists right now. Is there any other context folks would like to add?
I think you covered it pretty well.
I would just say when it's for all-way stop, there are actually specific warrants that one of them has to be met for an all-way stop. So you could put stop signs on the minor street approaches to an intersection without any studies. But when you want to make it a four-way stop, you've got to meet a particular warrant. They're not super easy to meet. They're volume-based, crash history-based, or if there's an issue with sight distance. So,
And these are state requirements.
they're MUTCD requirements, which is that federal, but the state also, everything refers to those requirements.
So that's not municipal, I think.
Correct,
Yeah.
it's not municipal.
We have to all conform to it. So if I had to interpret, sounds like whether it's, you know, a traffic study for a four-way stop or for speed humps or any other traffic calming on that stretch, you would need to essentially go talk to your neighbors and get a petition with sufficient signatures. The information's on the website. And then essentially bring it back here and we start the process.
I'll add another comment regarding the ongoing active transportation plan. So they're looking at the entire municipality in concert with Dormont. There is a chance this will pop on some part of the analysis, and that may help or guide it. But I would also encourage you, I don't know what the specific website is for the active transportation plan, but if you look up, do you know it off the top of your head, Andrea? Mount Lebanon Dormont Active Transportation Plan should bring something up somewhere.
Okay.
And you can comment on a map. They're in the process right now, is going to provide a short update. But yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
You're not related to the Stinner that runs Dormont Borough, right?
No, I think I've been asked that before. I am not, as far as I know.
Not yet. All right, we have Chris Patty.
Thank you for allowing me to speak for a few minutes. My name's Christine Patty, and I live at 420 Parkview Drive along with Alan Beal. And the reason why I'm here today is we have created a request for or a petition to look at a calming study, but I just want to give you a little background and something to consider related to the human factor about our request. On 8/14, I had emailed the chief because Alan and I always walk our dogs in the neighborhood. And on Austin specifically, 3 times on the 14th, we felt very unsafe. And quite frankly, we felt like we could have been hit by a car or two. Now, we always do what we should do. We give the universal sign to slow down. And it was mainly young drivers. And the universal signs they gave us back. So anyhow, but it's all related to the Parkview Terrace Summer Place in Austin that we're concerned about because it is a cut through. Our chief of police was very kind. He said he understood that there had been problems in the past, and they had done a study or two, and he assured me he would send cars over to follow up on that. Well, fast forward to 12:15, one of our neighbors got hit by a car on Austin. It was not speed related. It was more weather related. He did not get hurt, but he still got hit. So a few of us were talking about it, and we decided to pursue a request again to take a second look, because we understand, and Officer Green was kind enough to personally call me and explain to me what the original traffic calming study did earlier in the year on Austin, saying it did not warrant any specific remedies. And we understand that we're not going to have 1,000 or 2,000 cars driving on that street. We also understand that speeding probably will not be exceed over, say, 30, 31, even though it's a 25. The speed limit is 25. All we know is that it's a concern. And so when I went around to get the petition for the 20 individuals, I was surprised and actually shocked all their stories. There's a lot of new families that have moved into the neighborhood with young children. Many of us are dog walkers. One story where a car went into their front yard. They're afraid to have their kids play out front. We don't walk there anymore on Austin because we're afraid to, but why should that be the situation? But more importantly, when I went through and got the 26 signatures with Alan, they couldn't wait to sign it. They said, we know this is happening, nobody's doing anything, and we would like it to have a second look if possible. And very quickly, I want to leave you with this note. One of the neighbors, her name is Rosalie, senior citizen, and you know how when you walk up to the door with a clip ready to ask for questions, they don't want to come to the door, and she's looking out and go, hi, I'm your neighbor, you might not remember me, I live on Parkview. She opened the door and she said, what are you doing here? I told her, she said, oh, please come in. She's a senior citizen, maybe 10, 15 years older than me. She says, I can't walk on my street. I'm petrified. I'm afraid to pull out, I'm afraid to pull in. And when I looked at her, she had tears in her eyes. And that's how it was for every house on that street. We had no problems getting the 20 signatures immediately. And I just want to look at the human factor, because we're never going to get 2,000 cars running there. And they are speeding. Opportune times. School start, school end, beginning work week, end of work week, coming from Bower Hill, coming from Summer Place, up from Greenhurst. We'd just like you to take a second look, and we have everything in order for you to review.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So your area of Austin that you're talking about, do you have sidewalks there?
No, and you can't have sidewalks there because of the trees. I don't have sidewalks on Parkview either, but, you know, he was talking about a four-way stop. So when you go off of Parkview, make a right onto Terrace View, there's a three-way stop sign. But you have to inch out and try and see if anyone's coming up. And, you know, you're taking your life in your hands because they come flying. And then when they come in from Bower Hill, they do the same thing. Or when they go make a left onto Terrace and they go to make a left onto Parkview, they see the green light, which by the way lasts for 2 seconds. But they gun it thinking, oh, we're gonna make it. They never make it. So there's no stop sign there either. So you guys are the experts. We just want you to take a second look to secure our safety walking on the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Paul Ostergaard.
I'm Paul Ostergaard, resident of 469 Parkview Drive. I think Chris summarized our concerns for Austin and the adjacent streets quite well. What happens is that the intersection of Greenhurst and Bower Hill Road during rush hours gets really congested. And people try and avoid that intersection, so they go Summer Place to Austin straight through to Bower Hill Road. Or they may turn onto Terrace View and then go My Street, Parkview Drive. So there is a lot of traffic, and it's during certain times of the day. It's the rush hours, both work rush hour related rush hours and school related rush hours. And people are just barreling through there, and I think sometimes way over the speed limit. There are no sidewalks on that street. It's a legendary street in Mount Lebanon. It was at one time colonnades of gorgeous sycamore trees planted in the 1940s. They've taken out about 50% of them. But still, you could practically cut a hole in the tree for a sidewalk to go through it. Some of these trees are that big, just like they do in California, in the big national parks. So those trees aren't going anywhere, and it would be very difficult to add sidewalks. However, I would love for you experts on this board to look at other remedies for slowing traffic and for possibly discouraging people from using that route and staying mainly on the arterials. Why do we have a three-way stop? I have no clue. It enables people who are going towards Bower Hill Road to just keep shooting up the hill, over the top of the hill and down to Bower Hill Road. A stop sign would slow traffic down. We'd love to have a speed bump if this was eligible. That would do a lot to slow traffic down. So anyways, be fascinated to see what your deliberations are regarding our little project over on Austin. Just to reinforce what Chris said, there are a lot of very concerned residents in that area. A lot of dog walkers. Whenever we walk our dog in the evening, we put on the yellow reflective vests. People tend to put their cars away at night, so the street's wide open. Very little resistance for people in the evenings or early mornings driving up and down the street that you sometimes get with parked vehicles. They're just up there. So that's pretty much it. Andrew.
Yeah, I go through there all the time. I used to be part of the problem of taking my children to Jefferson because we live down on Lindendale.
Sure.
I have to obviously defer to the technical experts, but my instinct is that the traffic volumes and speeds are not sufficient from a traffic management perspective. For me, it's not about speeds, it's about the perception of, are we in a space that we are comfortable in and comfortable being in? To that end, would the residents be open to alternatives other than speed bumps and stop signs?
I would say that we are open to any ideas that you could come up with that would slow the traffic down, make it more, pedestrians more visible. It is a street with curving geometries, and the big trees tend to limit sightlines sometimes. Particularly, as Chris mentioned, at the intersection of Terrace View and Austin, that's the three-way stop. And it's there's a turning left there off of Terrace View onto Austin is tricky because you don't get a really good sight line going down that street. So we'd love to see some improvements like that, maybe additional stop signs, other signage that may discourage people from speeding, alerts, any number of things could be considered.
What if I said one way?
A one-way street?
Yeah, rethinking travel patterns to make them one way and narrow them.
Wow.
I'm genuinely curious, right?
I think that, if you,
No left turn
that
off
would be
Bower
great.
Hill.
I mean, yeah.
Well, I mean, I only raise it because, because we tend to have a very specific mindset of the road is this wide and we have to deal with it being this wide. But those are our roads, and I'm not saying we can go and restructure them immediately, right? This is a process, but would residents be open to, a more radical rethinking of how we, design those streets?
I think so. I think ideas like narrowing, at certain points, narrowing the cartway to reduce the sort of wide open
Right.
runway perception and pull it in, pull it down. That's an interesting traffic calming technique, I think, that would be worth considering.
These streets are definitely made for driving, not for walking, even with the
That's
curb
right.
cuts and the way that it's made for speed.
Yeah. I think, I know we have one more in the room. I don't think we have one online, but I was gonna move to make a new business item. We have Ella Street under new old business, which is still also in this area of influence as well. I maybe make a new business item or add this onto the Ella Street conversation because it's the same area of influence, and happy to have like a larger discussion and potentially make a recommendation from the board. So I would encourage you, Paul, if you want to share the NACTO Urban Street Design Guideline. People may not think these are urban streets, but we're very much in an urban area, and that has the pinch points, it has the chicanes, it talks about these even diverters and components like that, because signs and paint and they're not going to change. No left turn on Bower Hill, people still make a left turn on Bower Hill.
Yeah, people run through stop signs all the time.
Exactly. A stop sign's only as good as the people driving through it, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, we are human, and many people do not adhere to them. So, but yeah, we can maybe just add this to the discussion. I'm at Ella Street and make a recommendation for the general area, but thank you.
Very exciting, thank you.
And again, and to Seth's point earlier, right, we are working on an active transportation plan.
Yes.
Which should influence this process. That's my hope. Because again, we need to think about a lot of, this type of issue is everywhere.
Yeah.
Right, and we have a certain toolkit that we use today. And the question is, how do we create a more robust toolkit moving forward?
Sounds music to my ears.
Thank you, Paul.
Very good, thank you.
I believe this is Alicia Lee or Alicia? Locker, okay, no worries.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Alicia Locker. I'm a resident of 279 Gilkison Road. This is my first time at this meeting, and I appreciate you all taking the time to listen to me. And I want to talk to you about something you all know very well, which is traffic safety on Gilkison Road. I know that a roadway doesn't need a catastrophe before improvements can be justified, but there does need to be several conditions like traffic volume, crash patterns, and pedestrian activity. And these all signal a need for a closer evaluation of the road. And from what I see every day from my window on Gilkison Road meets several of these conditions. First of which, you likely all know, which is traffic volume. Gilkison Road used to be a 2-lane highway. It is now substantially grown into a 4-lane highway that feeds into an intersection that is arguably one of the busiest in our township. The second is that during peak traffic hours, there's often aggressive driving behaviors, like long queues to turn off of Gilkison Road. And often drivers stuck in those lines are honking or, again, making gestures at me and my residents who are trying to turn into our driveways. The third is crash volume. And so a traffic review is often in order when a road experiences 5 or more correctable crashes within a single year. On Gilkison Road, in the past 30 days between mid-November to mid-December, I personally witnessed 3 right angle accidents. And the fourth and most important to me is pedestrian safety. So we know Gilkison Road is a major roadway, but over the years, a new wave of families and small children, including my own that has small children, has moved onto that street. And every afternoon I see from my window several groups of children that cross the road between Old Gilkison and Gilkison Road at that intersection. There is no safe or clearly marked pedestrian crossing there. And in our walkable community, this means that children who are walking home from school, I watch them judge the gaps in fast-moving 4-lane highway traffic amid distracted drivers that we all know about. This is not reasonable and it's not safe. So there's some broader issues on that roadway. So from what I could understand, between Cedar Boulevard and Washington Road, that stretch is just about 9/10 of a mile. There's one traffic light on that 9/10 of a mile stretch. By comparison, on Washington Road, there are 4 stoplights, one at almost every intersection. And that contributes to better control of speed on Washington Road, which we don't have at all in Gilkison Road. I really want to think proactively here rather than reactively. I don't want to wait to watch one of those children get hit before we do something about safer crossing. I'm not a traffic engineer. This is not my area of expertise. But I think any sort of solution would be something I'd be willing to talk about. A lighted crosswalk at that intersection between Gilkison and Old Gilkison. Traffic light would also be fine with slow traffic. Would also allow crossing for pedestrians or children, even individuals if they want to walk to Gilkison Road. And I also want to think outside the box too. My neighbor who's lived next to me for 60 years says that they used to walk in a tunnel underground. It was kind of gross, but that's what they did and they were kids. I don't know anything about that or what the infrastructure or cost would be, but if Mount Lebanon is going to be a walkable community, it's time we probably think outside the box about what our type of typical solutions are, kind of like what everybody's been talking about. I don't know the appropriate avenues or what exactly needs to be done to impact change or initiate the wheels of movement, but I did want to bring this issue up today at this meeting and see what else there could be done or what we could talk about in order to make this a safe, walkable community on a road that I think needs some attention, which is Gilkison Road. That's all I have for today.
So Alicia, where do you see the children crossing? Actually on Gilkison?
Gilkison Road, yeah. Where the
Where that
old,
Painter's Run comes down from the.
That's where the sidewalk ends on
That's where the
Gilkison to Old
sidewalk ends.
Gilkison.
and then down, if you know where those apartments are, they just rebuilt new steps, yeah. Like right there, that's where the kids run across the street, between the bus stops is where I see them run.
Where the crosswalk used to be.
Yes, where the crosswalk used to be.
I mean, I'm happy to add this as new business, and I don't want to say the old trope, but this is a state road, so
Yeah.
it makes our job harder. But
I like it.
Well,
it meets all the metrics of a road diet. I mean, this road should be road dieted, in my opinion, but go ahead.
Since we've spoken,
We have spoken.
I was waiting for you to say you'd gone in the tunnel. I'm joking,
It's on my
I'm
list.
joking.
There's still a tunnel.
There is still a tunnel there.
Don't do that.
I mean, it's a I mean, I'll
It
do-
vibes, you know?
Yeah, I think we can have a greater discussion and consider a recommendation
I think
in
that
the new
needs to be-
business, so we'll add Gilkison Road to it and go from there. Yeah, it's not good, it's bad.
It's
Every time I'm
bad.
through there, yes.
And it's not an easy solution and
But we gotta start somewhere.
bureaucracy takes a while, I
Yep.
understand that. So yes, whatever I can do to help support, get it on the list, all of that, yeah. And we've talked about this, I've talked to Chief Haberman about this, so, whatever we can do to keep things moving. Yeah, I'd hate to see something happen to anyone, but especially those kids crossing the street, so.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I know we have MK online, we usually have MK online, so I don't think they have citizen comments and their hand is not raised, so I will keep moving towards the chairperson's report. Unless there's anyone else in the room, but thank you. So Welcome back, everyone. This came up quicker than I think I imagined, because I don't know where December went, but here we are. I reached out to Mr. McMeans, the municipal planner, and the point of contact for the active transportation plan. Almost the same day I reached out, they scheduled the next working group meeting for that, so we'll have some updates there. And I can't remember when that meeting actually came through. I think it is later this month, so I might have something ahead of the next meeting. I asked about the street design process and, has it gone before commission? He wasn't aware of a final version. I don't think there was. I think we sent a draft to commission, so I'll follow up there. The other item was regarding the zoning update, and his request was we prepare some sort of memo basically outlining the recommendations we've already sort of looked at and made, and put that in a memo format and send that along to him, and he'll share with the consultants was the recommendation from us. The official process for that, there will be a presentation to the commission in a discussion session and a presentation to the planning board regarding recommendations. I don't know that there is going to be an outreach plan released later which will include municipal boards and stakeholder groups and the public as well. So that's all I have on that front. Finally, the county is I believe they are finalizing their safety action plan, which was funded by the Safe Streets and Roads for All effort, and essentially would unlock every municipality in Allegheny County the ability to pursue Safe Streets for All implementation funding. I caveat that with likely most of this federal funding needs reauthorization. Those that may not follow the federal government, they aren't exactly functioning towards active transportation and pedestrians and others in a straightforward manner. So that's a big caveat, but I know that Dormont was successful in getting some Safe Streets and All funds in this last cycle. There were other areas that were successful, and I think I also saw that the municipality was successful with Green Light Go for Parkview Drive for a signal effort there. I think does Green Light Go and Arley open back up soon, or?
Arley's every June 1st to June 30th. Green Light Go moves a little bit.
Yeah.
This year, the applications are in March.
Okay. I might put, I know we had previously talked about Cochrane Road as a potentially a Green Light Go or Arley type of, a larger signal study for that area to think about what can happen on Cochrane Road since it's a state road and our abilities there. So maybe there's some, unless there are other things in the municipality, but maybe there's a larger discussion on those signal programs and pursuits, or the mobility board making recommendations.
Washington Boulevard, is the main drag a possibility as well?
All the signals have been updated on Washington Road between Bower Hill and Cochrane, or beyond.
At least to Cochrane, including some other equipment upgrades even further.
Right. So it's had all the signal upgrades.
Yeah, I think over the years since they started Green Light Go, we've probably done $2.5 million worth of signal upgrades in the municipality.
So, just so I understand too, because I know we've talked about the 7-second delays and those things. So we now have the ability to make those adjustments if we can basically get a state approval.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, it's just
So
programming.
so the equipment is updated.
It is.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I think in Cochrane doesn't have the equipment update, doesn't have the same level.
Gotcha.
So the most recent grant, we actually upgraded the remaining controllers. I think we had 26, something like that,
22
for the Cobalts.
controllers,
Yeah, and they're up to the most recent technology.
And Cedar and Cochrane
Equinolite.
was updated when PennDOT did their Cochrane Road reconstruction.
Right.
So between Washington and so on, Cedar.
We have 42
only-
intersections and they're all upgraded to the most recent equipment. And they're all running the same thing. It's Equinolite Cobalts. That's the most
The only
latest and greatest that we have.
the only intersection that's very obsolete is Parkview and Bower Hill, so that's the one we're gonna do this year.
Okay.
I don't have anything else from Chairperson's report.
Just
Oh, go
a
ahead.
couple things, Seth. So when you mentioned reporting back on our recommendations, so I did just a quick analysis since our last meeting about how many times we as a board since April of '24, at least that's when I started, made recommendations, and I came up with 13. So, I have the dates, in some ideas, like Old Gilkison, well, that's been there since October '24, but anyway, and so on, so I know that, you know, that's one thing we talked about is, you know, how many recommendations we have, can we get a total of those, and when they were, and I sort of did that myself. But it's really just from my notes, I didn't check back with Mickey's, but anyway, so if you want those dates, I can send them to you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Of what I captured,
Sure.
so,
That sounds good.
okay?
With that, I will go to the commission liaison.
So, yeah, welcome back, everybody. You are stuck with me for another year, whether you like it or not. Obviously, last night, we went through our reorganization. I will continue on this as my board, which you all know I'm passionate about. My goal, honestly, for this year is to, as Charlotte was alluding to, I think, my goal is for the board and staff to lock down a process to where there is visibility as to what's being raised, and even in a perfect world, even putting it on a website so that even residents can see, where items have been raised. People want to, see changes. I obviously I think website changes are probably aggressive, but in the time that we've had the mobility board, I think we've made good strides in terms of just getting our thinking in the right direction. But I think we, as an organization, just need to figure out how to take ownership of these items when they are raised, and usher them through a process that's clear, not only to the board, but to staff and to residents. And I don't think it's ultimately on the board to carry that ball, but we have to be very thoughtful about what this process should look like going forward so that, at some point staff can pick it up and carry it. I don't think that's Rudy's job. I think it's a planning responsibility. But again, that's all stuff that we've got to figure out. So that for me is my priority for this year, for this board, is really structural. I think it's important. I know that there are going to be items for specific streets, but it's really how do we make a process that's going to work well going forward. So that's really where my mind is. Going into this year, obviously a lot going on, but the road program is always doing really well. The streets are well maintained. They're plowed well. We're putting in new sidewalks. There are more sidewalks going in this year on Greenhurst. That is the plan, assuming everything works out. But that's been approved. But it's not as fast as we would all like, but there's only so much money to go around. So hopefully, we can continue to make progress, even though it's not as fast as we all might hope it to be. But all that, and then the active transportation plan, I hope is a good catalyst for us to really synthesize a lot of this thinking. I've been pushing Ian on that topic, specifically around a process. But I think it's ultimately something that we all have to wrap our brains around as well. So that's all I've got. I'm looking forward to 2026.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Just one quick question, Andrew, that, with consideration around this process and structure and so on, are there thoughts of, would that include like a staff member or not ruling that out, but,
I think we have to ask what's important and
Yeah.
what resourcing needs to be aligned against it. The short answer is, in a perfect world, we would hire someone to work in planning.
Yeah.
To just do this type of work,
right,
right? And keep track of all these moving pieces, because again, it's not traffic engineering and it's not road maintenance and,
it's not parking,
it's a planning process, is really what it is. But that is a very expensive proposition to go talk about hiring more people. So I think right now, the question isn't, do we need a body to do X? I think it's, what is it that needs to be done? It needs to be really clear
right.
About what the value proposition is for what that task is.
And if you don't know the answer to this, you don't have to, but I'm curious, have you seen other municipalities similar that have some sort of staff?
Yeah.
That work data shows that,
Well, again, it's really ultimately each community, how they prioritize, these types of efforts, right? When you're in a new build out, right, new community, right, they're already putting people there. Because you have new growth, and so you're planning new streets and new infrastructure, where we are built out. So I think for many years, we are in maintenance mode. Well, what we are talking about isn't maintenance, it's reimagining, which is essentially new development.
Right.
So it would be a mind shift, and a resource shift, which, takes a lot to make happen. But yes, communities do it, but they have to have the plan in place and the political will to make the dollars available, and then the organizational capacity in place to institute it over time.
And again, like in a perfect world, you have them for so long and we don't need them anymore.
Right.
Essentially.
Well, until something else changes, and then you have to reimagine
Yeah.
it again, right? And
We're gonna have flying cars eventually, Charlotte.
I will.
Ready for it.
drones,
Jetsons.
drones will take care of all of the shipping, and we can just pick our children up and drop them off.
Okay, all right, thanks for
Thanks,
those.
Commissioner. Anything from staff?
No, I was gonna mention about the Greenhurst sidewalks, but Commissioner Flynn already stole that thunder, so.
Sorry, well, you can tell, it was the details, the
We
meat.
started working on them, we're actually putting plans together right now, so we actually had a Teams meeting this afternoon with the engineers and putting things together to present that to the commission, get approval on that, and move forward with the bid process. And then the other thunder that was stolen was the Green Light Go grant, and I was gonna mention that. And we were awarded that, we were approved for that grant, and just so you know, that's, the engineers put a price tag of $380,000 on that intersection, and it's a 20% match by the municipality, so we really get a lot of value out of these Green Light Go grants, as Mike said, and it's a big bang for the buck, so.
It is unbelievable how much signals and the equipment cost. I don't think people realize that, but that is really the going rate for them.
Yep,
Yeah, we did the
that's not a real complicated
20-plus
intersection.
controllers, all the APS, got rid of all the old cameras, put radar in, and all along Washington Road for, I think there were like 11 or 12 intersections, plus all the controllers for, 20 cents on the dollar.
We
And a
haven't
lot of
started-
people don't realize that every traffic signal in Pennsylvania is owned and has to be maintained by the municipality itself. No, but PennDOT does not own a single traffic signal.
They just tell us what we can
They
do.
just control
They
it.
just, you're right, it's their requirements for what goes in, but,
Yeah.
so when they have a program like that, where they're gonna give you 80 cents on the dollar for upgrades, we go at it every year.
But we look at what we have and what we want to improve every year. So, like Mike said, the APSs, I think we're gonna want to probably expand those to some extent. But keep in mind, those are pretty expensive, and then you have to maintain them too. So if they go bad or break,
APS,
yes, the talking push buttons.
Audio pedestrian
Yeah.
signal.
Yeah.
we're not all
Oh, okay.
immersed.
It's accessible pedestrian,
Accessible.
because it's audible and it's, by touch.
Haptic feedback, right? Or it has something like
Yeah, so
that.
it's for visually impaired and for, audibly impaired.
I know you guys had mentioned a couple of the intersections that we didn't get to, so we'll probably look at those in the next wave and try to.
Yeah,
knock
right
some
now
of
we have
those
it
out.
from the Bower Hill intersection all the way to Cochrane.
Correct, on Washington Road, right?
Yeah, and then the only other one is at,
Cedar and Cochrane.
Cedar and Cochrane.
Don't we have, didn't we do Bower Hill and Cochrane too?
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
there you go.
This
There's a, yeah.
this
years
prompts
ago.
Yep.
prompts a question that I have. So this dialogue between the two of you, is institutional knowledge of where all this stuff is and what's been done. Is there a way for us to extrapolate that or extract that out of your brains and put it into a map
Yeah.
that is available to at least the board to start to
I
understand
have a
what?
USB in the side of my head.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Plug you right in, right?
Exactly.
Thumb drive?
Yeah. Well, yeah, again,
It's
and,
not that complicated to do something like that.
No, for sure.
That's not,
yeah, well, because
I
again,
could rattle
it's,
them off. I mean, there's so much over the years.
yeah.
when
I mean,
I
even
mean, we
stuff
do
to bring
that.
up tonight, I'm like, oh, we looked at that at the traffic board. We looked at this, we already got a letter from PennDOT on that, like, stuff that I know.
well, and again, it goes back to how do we understand, right, when a traffic study was done, when this was
Pittsburgh
upgraded.
uses their ArcGIS, and they have each street, and they have the ones that are eligible, obviously, for any kind of traffic calming, and identifies by color, so gray roads are not eligible for anything because they're owned by somebody else and, we're unable to do anything. But then the other series of colors, because I looked at this recently because the roads around Oakland that were being considered for things. And they have ones that are under review, they have ones that are budgeted to be done, so there's all different colors. And I think you could also, I've seen it with the ArcGIS here, you hover over something and it brings up the block that you can click on and see the detailed history of what's been done, traffic studies, things like that. So I would think, I'm a visual person, so I think an ArcGIS would be
Answer something with GIS.
It's the best way of doing that, to share the information or just for reference for us even.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you, like Aaron said, you see a picture and you can see where your holes are and in your
Right.
systems and where where you need to consider placing things and so forth, so.
It's on the DOMI for site for City of Pittsburgh, DOMI section.
They've got some great stuff.
Well, so let me ask, and I know I don't mean to take over the meeting, but how would it, let me frame this properly, what's the best way for this board to help you guys get the resources necessary to make that type, just mapping exercise possible?
Well, I think you need to probably quantify or clarify what is actually expected and what needs to be done. Because we have a lot of this data already. That we
right.
use ourselves for our own planning and planning purposes and so
Right.
forth. All the signs, all the pavement markings are all in there already. ADA ramps, sidewalks, those are all in there already.
Right.
Existing sidewalks. So a lot of this information is basically there, but you just have to determine how you want to share it and to what extent you
What
want to share it.
information you
Because,
want.
because we have a lot of background even on individual properties that we have a public mapping feature on our website. You can go there now and see if the tree in front of your house is municipal or not, and, all the different things. But there's other things that we don't share, like property ownership and things like that you can still find on your own at the county sites and so forth,
Right.
but just not on our website, So I guess my answer to you would be, we would probably need some sort of scope and package to determine, because it's probably possible to do it already. We have a GIS technician employee, in Public Works, and we have Gateway as a resource as well. They have a whole GIS division. So it's not a real complicated thing. It's just that, there's going to be some costs associated with it.
Right.
And then there's going to be some, what needs done other than this with the ArcGIS technician, because he's constantly updating parcels and properties and things like that. So does he have the capacity, which I'd have to talk to him and find out if he did have that capacity to do that. So I know I didn't answer your question.
No, I think part of the question, to Aaron's point, is there's already examples out there, right, of what other people are doing to do, this is essentially storytelling, right, of what's.
But realistically, they probably have a whole department in the city of Pittsburgh
Right,
too that
well,
works on
that's-
this, so,
they do,
that's- we have one person here that is doing
Right.
things for the fire department, things for the police department,
Right. So the question becomes, again, this is a storytelling tool in many respects. It doesn't need to be so granular, right? And frankly, it probably shouldn't be. But at the same time, we, again, how many residents, have no idea when the last time a study was done on their street?
Right.
Which if they could go and look and see it and go, oh, okay, well, at least I have context.
As a matter of fact, last week I spoke to our GIS guy and I talked to Lieutenant Green at the police department. He shared all of his recent speed data, and we're gonna post that on our website so that we can see where these, if we get a call from someone, hey, I wanna see a marker or a pin on the map, tells me the last time that we did speed and traffic counts and, what those were, and link them back to the document that Lieutenant Green has as a PDF, so.
Yeah, they're not just deploying that when they get a call from someone.
Right, exactly, the manager has, there's a cost
they're
associated with
all over
that
the
as
place.
well, right.
Stuff that never even
Like the
comes here, they have data for.
Could we plot that on the GIS? So that it doesn't make it so difficult for the residents to go to all these different places to find this data? Can we make one place where they go to and can?
The sidewalks are already on the GIS.
Right.
It looks like
Right.
the ADA ramps are, but it's grayed out, so he might just, might be as easy as.
Zoomed in far enough? A lot of times it's
It could
just
be
this
that, but it was like
blip.
how far zoomed
Yeah,
in.
you have to zoom in a lot of times and then they appear.
Well, I'm
That's
sorry,
just so it doesn't clutter when you have a
Yeah.
wide view.
I didn't want to go down a rabbit hole on this, but I think this is an interesting topic, right? Part of what we are talking about, right, is the storytelling exercise and helping people engage in this process. Personally, I think ArcGIS is great, but not for storytelling. It's a good technical tool. So how do we understand, right, as a board, what might be a good way to, what is the story that needs to be told? What does need to be shared more easily on the website? And because data, right, yeah, we might geek out on it, but most people are just like, just show me what the average number is. What's the average speed? What's the high end? What's the low end? When was the last time you studied it? Right? How do we get that information conveyed? And I think that might be something else for this board to think about this year is, what is that? What are other examples out there that have been done? I know there's lots of municipalities who do these types of things. So what is it? What might be best of breed be? It might be a research project. Not something that we would implement this year, but something to say, by the end of this year, we'd like to have some proposal to put forward, as a case for the commission to consider funding, because I think that would be a great addition to this kind of long-term thing that we need to address anyway.
In the short time I've been here, it seems there's a theme of citizens' comments, and they all seem to be associated with speed through the street and safety for the children walking and coming from school, and is my street really appropriate for what's been happening, and how do we do that? If there is something that can help people understand what the status is and the process, that would be a great, in my mind, benefit, because again, I don't know, Charlotte, and the 13 or so that you've seen, are they all same kind of requests? It seems as though there's a lot of citizens coming out and saying, I need help. I need help. People are flying by. What's going on?
I also think feedback's really important, because people go through the effort of doing a petition and then they don't get a document back saying what was found. I 9 times out of 10, 99% of the time, they're just told you don't meet the criteria. And that's what they're left with. So you go through all of this work, you come to the meetings, you advocate for your street, but you're not getting any feedback. The information has to exist, right? Because like the traffic study is collecting the data, it should just be able to be shared, at least with us, and then perhaps with the person who submitted the petition. Otherwise, it's very discouraging for residents to engage in the change process. It's almost built and designed to work against them.
Right. No, I agree, right? Again, we as a municipality have to establish and follow a set of rules, but how do we also facilitate, a shared discussion where people feel like they are, equal members in the dialogue, as opposed to, here's the rules, sorry. It doesn't work that way.
I think the feedback is critical for this. Again, short time I've been here, people have come in and made an effort to present a case, and I don't know that they ever hear anything back. That would be pretty frustrating if I was the one preparing stuff and asking for something. At least tell me it's not going to work, or just tell me what's the next step.
Right.
Get feedback.
And I think the municipality has done a good job in many respects. The vast majority, I would say, right, when items get pushed forward. No, I agree. But I think it's, how do we improve on that engagement process? And I think we've had discussions about it, but I think it's, we're at a point where this is maturing to the stage where it's worthy of a more kind of in-depth.
Where does the rubber meet the road?
Yeah. Just literally, figuratively.
So Mike, I think you mentioned Greenlight Go in March, or is that what's the March date?
The formal, the formal applications are being accepted from March 1st until the end of March.
Okay.
But pre-application scoping forms were due January 2nd. So if you, now that's not just now, that's like in the past 2 years, they implemented this. Because what happens is a lot of municipalities were applying for Green Light Go funds for things that weren't eligible. And PennDOT was parsing through all these applications, so they implemented like 2 years ago. All right, fill this form out first to give us a general idea what you're gonna apply for. We'll let you know if you're eligible. Then you can spend your time applying. I know what's eligible. I've done a lot in District 11. I know the guy who administers it. Last year, we were able to submit some pre-scoping form applications after the deadline.
Okay.
So if there was something that was, that came top of mind that we thought we wanted to get an application, and I think we could do that.
Okay.
But I think, to what Rudy was saying, like, we've done a lot of the signal upgrades already.
Okay, so in terms of the program of Green Light Go and what we could apply for, we feel confident that
It's
we've done
literally signal infrastructure upgrades. So you can't use it.
anywhere, not just state roads.
No, because all the signals are yours, or
Yeah,
the municipalities.
That's right, yeah, okay.
So it's any equipment upgrades, full signal replacements, but you can't apply for a grant for a new signal where there isn't one now. So it's like, hey, the signal's warranted here, we want to put one in and we want to get Green Light Go. You can't use it for that. There's other things you can't use it for, but it's basically signal infrastructure. So anything associated with an existing signal.
All right.
Pretty much limited to that. We tried to get it to use it for a school zone flasher, which are actually signals, and we couldn't use it for that. That's literally
They have a
listed.
separate program that they're
That's
funding.
listed as
funding some of
ineligible
the-
for Green
Yeah,
Light Go.
we work with them and they have a different funding source.
And now the Arley grant, which is in June, that's automated red light enforcement. So there's Philly has the cameras that'll give you your ticket. Every ticket, and there might be 3 cities now that have them.
Yeah.
In the state, every ticket, a piece of that fine from that ticket goes into the Arley fund, and every year they give out, it's usually around $13 million for upgrades. We've gotten, so the turn lane in the signal at Bower Hill and Washington Road, that was an Arley grant.
Okay.
The turn lane on, at Bower Hill coming up,
Seaguard.
that was an Arley grant.
Okay.
So Arley grants are a little more expansive. It's really anything like traffic, mobility, safety, pedestrian, anything related to that.
That's what we are.
Yeah, that's in June, so that's probably more applicable. It grabs more things other than just signal equipment upgrades.
Okay, so when would we need to consider deadlines?
There's no pre-scoping for that, so it's literally June 1st to June 30th is when they accept applications. And we've done applications for municipalities every year. We could pull them together in a week if we had to.
And we benefit from some of those funds, right? For the tickets?
But that's where the funding comes from.
We have non-Arley grants, correct.
Yeah.
Do we have Lebanon Avenue and Cochrane lined up then it's right in front of the high school? That's one of the ones that doesn't have the APS on it. And so that, I don't know if that could be highlighted, but that is one I think that was definitely overlooked when those updates were happening, because that's right at the high school there.
Yeah, I'd just talk to Jason and see what's out there. I'm not real familiar.
Right now?
Was that one of the controllers that was replaced?
I don't know.
There isn't even a lead pedestrian interval on that one. That light is.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
the kids are always not sure where to cross there either. I've seen them in the morning and they think they're gonna cross here and then cars don't stop. People that are turning don't always wait for the kids to cross and it's a free for all.
Yeah, it's not a left turn arrow off of Cochrane, and then there's I don't think there's an LPS either.
Would we have to recommend that? Or?
I think it might be one we want to think about, maybe, I don't know if there's a way for us to know what's out there, like the commissioner was talking about, for us to know as a board to know what's out there right now, and then think about like the signals we just talked about, and maybe make a list and bring that back to the board before June, and make a recommendation, like, can we?
Well, no, the signal ones would be March.
March 1st.
Well, Green Light Go,
They've
they're both
already-
signal programs.
Pre-application for that was already submitted, and I thought Rudy or somebody said that we were gonna do final updates on some of the ones we talked about, and I know that
We're
Lebanon
talking
and
about
Cochrane.
the APS buttons, though.
The APS and yes,
Okay.
the leading pedestrian interval, just that light timing on that particular light.
Yeah, I mean, we were focused on the corridor, Washington Road, and then the intersection. I know we had some calls about the intersections at Cedar and Cochran.
Sure.
Concerns with
Yeah,
that.
that's
So,
typically when it comes up. I mean, we're not necessarily out looking for these things, but Cedar and Cochran was, the APS was put in there
Based on
several years
request
ago
or-
because there
right.
was a
Yeah.
visually impaired individually traverse
uses
that
that
intersection and
every day.
couldn't, because of the angle of Cedar and like, by the sounds of the cars, he couldn't actually tell what approach they were on.
Mhm.
So that's why that was back at the traffic board days, he came to that. So that was the first one, and then similarly, some hearing impaired and visually impaired residents who use the Washington Road corridor came and said, why does the business district not have that? Like, we walk from one end to the other. And so we did it with the Arley grant at Bower Hill in Washington, and we did all the rest of it with Green Lake Go. So it's not like we're actively going around looking for, hey, this should have or it shouldn't have, like when people
Sure.
come to boards like this and the question gets raised and ultimately it's turned into grant
a request,
applications.
right, and part of that grant application. So now we know, so that'll be next on the list.
Thank you, that sounds good.
Unfortunately, everyone's looking out for the 5 kids on their street, not the 500 kids at the school.
Kids are everywhere. All right, I don't know if the subcommittees have reports, because I don't believe anyone met in December, but I will offer it up to capital budget first.
No, we did not meet, but we are
Meeting in
going to
January.
meet. Yeah, we're gonna meet in January, so we'll have an update next month.
Okay. And then I think we didn't get a date on the calendar, right, John? But we can try to get something.
Now we'll get that on the calendar soon, right away, this week.
Okay. I put Ellis Street on old business, but I mean, we can have a larger discussion about Austin and Parkview. I've got some notes there, but I also had Sunset and Parkside proposal and didn't know if we had updates from John's presentation there.
I shared that with the manager,
Okay.
and and I think he had a conversation with Mike about that. And first thing he asked was, and I'm paraphrasing, was there any crash history there? And there was none, so he didn't feel that there was a need to any further pursue that. Mike?
Correct.
The Ellis Street?
No,
Sunset.
Sunset
Oh,
and
Sunset,
Parkside, yeah.
I mean, I know this came up in the active transportation plan discussions as well. We don't have a high level of crashes, like per se, that result in injury or incapacitation. But, anecdotally, the level of near misses and the comfort of our streets is lacking. So I would rebuff the manager there, to be honest.
I also just want to highlight what the feedback is on all of the surveys when we ask the public what their number one concern is. It is pedestrian safety, safer crossings. So regardless of what the data is saying for the crash data, it's what the residents are feeling. And I think that really needs to be considered when we're having these discussions, because it's not just a couple people coming here. Whenever we're spending all of this time and money investing in surveys to get the feedback, that is a major concern that residents are having.
I don't know what to do with that other than I disagree, but, all right, I think we as a board disagree. Because it's in the same kind of area influences. Mr. Stinner came forward in Fruithurst and this parks, like, it's in our school walking area. So, I don't know what the active transportation plan's going to say, and maybe we wait till the next meeting, I can come back to the board and we can make another follow-up recommendation on Sunset and Parkside, but,
I hate to keep hunting to the active
I know,
transportation
I do
plan,
too.
but I feel like until we have that kind of sense of what framework that provides, it's kind of hard to have a clear argument.
Because I don't think any of these streets are gonna meet the traffic calming policy. I don't think it is set up to not do traffic calming, in my opinion. It is set up to not do traffic calming. But the demand is there and it is continually coming up, so I think we need to find a way, so.
Is the active transportation plan looking at the traffic calming policies for potential adjustments?
I believe they are looking at all.
Because I know ours is 7 for the 85th percentile, greater than 7 miles per hour over, I think the city of Pittsburgh's is only 5. And that's their only requirement to be considered for neighborhood traffic calming. So, and it goes, that's their requirement to get in the door.
Correct.
And then after that, there's other evaluators that are done by DOMI.
They don't use volume at all?
No, only 5 miles per hour, 85th percentile. They consider volume then, once it gets in the door,
Second level, second.
for funding purposes.
And determine what
But they have a whole list, that I think it's like 7 to 10 enumerated things that include children, senior citizens living in the area, like there's a whole,
School.
yeah, proximity to school, all kind of, yeah.
And again, that, for me, that goes back to kind of what is this process that we are going through, right? Getting in the door and being part of that framework doesn't mean that you're getting everything that you
Right.
want.
It's just getting
Or
in the door
anything,
for
right?
consideration.
But it puts you on the process and you have a clear mechanism to participate and engage, and it's understood. I think that's, for me, I think as important as the ultimate right answer is allowing people to be participating through that flow. Right now, we have a lot of, you don't meet the threshold, so done.
Yeah,
And
that's where the frustration,
Yeah.
I think, from the community comes from.
Right.
And from the board too, because, we hear people coming every month, but we don't have a clear process. We don't have anything to guide them
Right.
to do next, other than, get everybody on your street to sign a petition
And then,
rally the board and see your local commissioner and
Right.
shake them down.
A lot of the traffic calming policies, including the Mount Lebanon's were based on, PennDOT came out with a manual, Pub 383, the municipality's guide to, or traffic calming manual, something like, they kind of spelled all of this, like, you should have this process, and you should have these thresholds, and here's what they should be, and here's the treatments that you can do. I was just at a conference in December, and they're eliminating that publication here in the spring, and they're wrapping it into the whole traffic engineering manual with a whole different set of guidelines and criteria. So I haven't seen it yet, but even they're adapting from 15 years ago to what their manuals and policies were to, some of the higher interest in pedestrians. So that was a big theme at that conference, was like, a lot of the PennDOT guys were even saying like, all we've ever thought about were cars, and we've had to change. They're older guys, like, well, now we're having to start to think about all these other things. People, and I'm like, what do you think?
Right.
So,
Bicycles.
they're slowly coming along.
Electric scooters.
well, and again, I mean, ultimately for me, right, it's, money, right, and projects take a lot of time. But how do you move the rights of way through a process where change is possible? I think that's, right, right now, it's very much static. And it's nice to hear, right, that those things are coming. But ultimately, right, as a community, we own our streets. So how do we allow for that exploration? Knowing that it's not all engineering and it's not a project. It's, what do we want?
I can tell you the people at the pickleball courts noticed that shade structures went up before we got a better crosswalk by the school.
Those are pretty fancy. I was impressed.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't even know those were on the list.
But, the crosswalk there, we would love to upgrade and narrow the one-way street where the kids cross every day for school.
I think we've made this community an easier place to drive through, drive your kids to school.
Yes.
Than for them to walk.
Well, it's not
And-
even that, but it's, we don't live in a one-income household anymore, right? Where somebody has the time to walk their children to school and walk home with their children, right? Like, I'm somebody who had 2 small kids, worked full-time, had to be at work at a certain time of day, and couldn't walk my kids to school at 9 o'clock or 8:30.
Yeah.
So that's another piece of it, I think, is they don't have that time anymore.
We've not adapted.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean, there just isn't
And we don't feel safe
that
putting
too.
our kids out onto the roadway, the walkway, or the sidewalks to get there.
I
My
live on
parents didn't care.
Greenhurst. I
What?
My parents didn't care. I grew up in Brentwood. They're like, go.
We're talking again.
Okay. The
Some of
kindergarten,
it is
like
a
walking across
generational
Brentwood.
issue. I know.
So
That's why my kids were rocking.
I will
It's like-
say philosophically, in my time here, it seems like the main roads have been specifically designed to move traffic between
Yes.
here and down, between southern communities and downtown Pittsburgh. And the neighborhood streets, you know, could use what we're talking about here to make them less attractive and keep people on the main streets.
Yes.
We lack a beltway around the city, therefore, all of our roads, our main roads through Mount Lebanon have become the beltway between
Cut throughs.
everybody south and downtown, and that's the focus, that's been the focus, especially Washington Road has always been the focus of how quick can we move people between downtown and the Washington County line, you know, so.
Okay. I agree with all this, and just to keep us on task, I'm gonna,
Passionate.
we'll move Sunset and Parkside, follow up on that, not to keep punting to ATP. Under new business, I just wanted to highlight item 1. I don't have actual items here, but I don't know who was engaging with the business owners on Beverly Road. I would like to bring a presentation, hopefully to the February meeting, regarding what a business improvement district is as a starting point. It does require, I guess I would defer to Commissioner Flynn, I think creating a business improvement district, I don't know what that requires in Mount Lebanon. I know it requires legislation in the city of Pittsburgh to create it, but essentially what it does is the parking fees or the expanded enforcement, all these things then funnel into projects in said business improvement district. They funnel into, which could include traffic calming near Beverly, which could include changes, enhanced enforcement or all these factors, but, it seemed they've pursued it in Lawrenceville and Butler Street, and I know we're not Lawrenceville and Butler Street, but that section of Beverly is about as close in comparison, the tightness, the residential elements to it, the desires of the school, the desires of the community to have a solution. And maybe it could, and it's not a state road, we control the road, that's the other factor as well. Anything we do there can potentially stay there. So I'd like to just have a quick slide deck to bring those business owners into what we've thought about, and if they don't take it, then, if they're not on board with it, we can't really force it down their throats, but that was my thought process, to have a quick slideshow, invite those folks back into the room. I don't know if they're listening online, but I think was Eric engaging with those folks the most? Andrew, should I just tell them, hey, we're gonna bring this to the mobility board if they wanna come back?
Yeah, I would. Eric will be the one to engage with.
And maybe even invite the partnership as well.
Who's Eric? Is Eric?
Eric Villiers, the business.
Did he come to represent the business, that group?
No, that was Brandon, I think, from.
Online.
Okay.
Eric Miller is an employee of the municipality.
Oh,
He's-
sorry.
Yeah, he does our commercial districts work.
So that's the intent of that one. I don't think there's anything to go on. I just wanted to highlight it for the agenda. Moving Ella into like new business for the Austin Parkview Terrafew area. This, I know I think Austin Avenue came up before. To Commissioner Flynn's point, would you consider one way? Would you consider traffic diverters? I think all of those are on the table because we're working with such a constrained right of way from the standpoint, we don't want to widen it, I personally don't want to widen it, which is what they did on Woodland. I want to use what we have. Unfortunately, it looks like Academy Place was paved between 2022 and 2025 and didn't really make changes there, and that's part of that same area of influence. So I don't have a recommendation per se unless others have thoughts about what we're recommending, because all we're recommending it to is to collect the data and go through the process. They have the petition. It's more than just Parkview, it's Ella Street, which is where we asked for some thoughts behind changes there. I don't know if there are. That was a Lane Kramer's email. I think we talked about some ideas. I don't know if we have any prepared or anything more about beyond that. Do you remember what the request was? I can't remember.
Well, there was, the original request was for sidewalks.
Right.
Right.
And then the discussion went down different paths here, but we've not been asked to look at that.
I mean, it's been a mix of sidewalks, stop signs, speed bumps, like the whole gamut. Like
Street
in
stuff.
that area, like not just Ella, but extending out.
Salem was a previous request.
Yeah.
Salem's been on your list since.
Yeah, Salem's on my list, Ella.
That is a neighborhood where there's no sidewalks on any of those streets.
Right.
But they're being used as a neighborhood and community should. And honestly, there's no reason they have to have sidewalks, but the condition of cars cutting through, the condition of cars not, they're going in the same direction. They are those peak periods. I love chicanes, bump out, all the things are there, but we don't have a process that gets them to that solution.
Right.
other than traffic,
I think
the
bump
traffic.
outs could really go a long way.
Yeah.
And I bet some neighbors would even be willing to like plant it or, so it's gonna slow down the traffic and, yeah, bump outs, I think we're underutilizing.
I mean, you can see turns like Chalmers and Parkview. A lot of these, admittedly, I don't know this for specific, I have to look at the map directly. PRT used to run buses through these streets. So you have these wide turn radiuses, one for the fire trucks likely, but also for PRT buses. And they did, Chalmers and Parkview is this massive pavement where you could maybe get a traffic circle, which doesn't function, but just takes up road space, still lets the plows come through, still lets the fire department come through, but does something like what we've done on Arden, maybe not at that scale, maybe not in concrete right away.
Could we put a traffic circle at that three-way stop?
I mean, the guys across the way on Jonquil or whatever have painted Steelers and Penguins logos and no one stopped them.
I know, I saw it.
So, yes.
Hey, Queston got the pens this year.
Yeah, no one stopped them that I know of. But I think people want to do it the right way for the most part, and they don't want to do something and have it ripped out. So I don't think I have a specific recommendation, and I know those folks came, they have reasons, and I agree with all their reasons, but
Okay.
we're a bit at a loss, unless we could go out and collect the data, but it's like, do you throw it up on Parkview, do you tear it, like, how many monitors do we have, and let's collect all of it.
We need to buy a bunch of Francois.
Certainly. If folks aren't aware of Move Levo's process of the Citizen Street Data Initiative, Francois is a monitoring device they've been deploying and pointing out vehicle direction, vehicles per day, 85th percentile speeds, really great stuff.
All of that data is on the website too,
Yep.
in nicely polished PDFs.
Yep. So check out Move Levo Citizen Street Data Initiative, just as a plug. So I know I put it as a new business. I don't have any true recommendation to make other than, because I feel like it just goes.
Well, how would we do bump out? I don't mean how, but like to decide if we can put them there on Ella.
I don't know if anybody in the room is familiar with, in kind of like the Friendship area. I was over having dinner and I'm trying to figure out if it's Friendship Avenue, but it's a narrow street in a neighborhood. And in the center of their four-way intersections, they have these little mini tiny roundabouts. And in the roundabout is a sign and it shows you how to navigate. It's like real basic and they're not big. They fit into a small little intersection, but it's just enough that it slows you because you can't just plow down the road. You have to kind of like take your time and go around. I mean, the diameter of it is maybe like 2, maybe 3 feet. It's small. Super basic, and the signage makes it simple for the driver to understand. I mean, this is stuff that I think, something on Austin Avenue, maybe that is something to consider, putting a couple of those in.
I think that one's a neighbor way, which is part of the extra transportation plan was supposed to look at street classification. I think we only have 3 street classifications in Mount Lebanon, whereas the city of Pittsburgh has a larger group. And so it was like, this is eligible for a neighbor way. And so they get neighbor way treatments or like that.
Those signs are on a neighbor way street.
That's what it's, I think that's part of that neighbor way. And so that was a bigger thing. Or if it's the area that got money from Bloomberg for philanthropies, they had a Friendship pavement art project that also included bump outs, and I'll send a link to everyone, but.
Speaking of pavement art, another thing that's gonna end up in the PennDOT manual that's approvable now is, instead of just the crosswalks you can do, you'll now be able to do like different colored, artistic painted type crosswalks.
Oh.
That's awesome.
So it's always been like, it's handcuffed us a bit. It's like, no, it has to be white, it has to be a ladder or piano keys or parallel lines, and now they're gonna draw that. It's not like a straightforward, like, you can do it everywhere, but they're gonna apparently have some criteria.
I think we've made a recommendation for the citizen street improvement policy where they could take that on themselves, because I know municipality is short capacity funding people, but I think a school that may have a crosswalk that could be upgraded with some bump outs and art would be a great project for students to engage. Lincoln did a mural project on the school grounds that came out great. Is the paint gonna last forever? No, but you can have another group come through and paint the stuff. And then when you repave the street, you come back and say, hey, this worked really well. Let's put a concrete curb here. Boom. That's what we need. That's the process I think we all desire.
Is that what you're talking about, Elizabeth?
Yes.
Why didn't we put signs in our traffic circle on Arden?
Yeah, thank you for finding that. These things, they are like, they're so simple, but they slow the flow like significantly because you really have to stop and go around it.
I was
And
literally.
that's an all-way stop as well.
The one in Brighton Heights has its own Instagram account, Little Swervy.
I don't even know if are they always at four-way stops? Because I don't know if everyone.
It's a yield condition in some of the other ones. It's
Yeah.
been dependent on driver operation and driver comfort is what it's been. Like, hey, no one knows how this works. Okay, we'll put the
You
stop
can
sign
see
back.
like it's minimal concrete,
Yep.
it's minimal maintenance, and it wouldn't interfere with like a fire truck or any kind of large vehicle from navigating that.
Like, can you go to Terman Ave in Brighton Heights?
Harmon?
Yep.
TURM?
TERMON. So they did a larger treatment.
You're on this section?
And yeah, Little Swervy's at the corner of McClure and Terman.
What, these things?
Yep, you can, they did some chicane bump outs and those have planters that are maintained by the local community. Yeah, Little Swervy's just a little off to the right. Next to, there's Little Swervy. They also have Little Bridgie, which is the Davis Avenue Bridge.
Bridgie and Swervy.
But, Allegheny City made a beer for Little Swervy. These people love the neighborhood. It does get run over in the middle occasionally, that sign gets knocked down, but I don't care if somebody breaks their car.
Yeah.
That one's a
So
yield.
she might
I
slow
can't
down.
help but notice that all of these streets that have these have much tighter curb radii than a lot of
Yeah.
our streets that we wanna.
But they have snow and fire trucks and leaves though, right?
Well, I was gonna, I don't think the fire trucks have any trouble getting around corners. No, I was gonna say that I wonder if you could actually fit like a proper Dutch style, like this looks like something that was crammed in a tight little street, like in some of like our older neighborhoods. But if you're looking at like the newer ones, it's like you might be able to just fit a whole, like a Dutch style one there. It doesn't need the little sign, maybe.
I'm just thinking for like cost and for
Speed.
like
Yeah.
speed, for maintenance, for
Of deployment,
quick.
yeah.
We don't need something fancy like Arden that's huge, just like
Get it out
what
there.
can we do quickly, easily? I would like to think that the neighbors who are really wanting this would kind of take some ownership and maybe plant them even and make it like look pretty on their street. I think that a lot of these homeowners want to really invest, make their walking more pleasant. And I don't know, I think there's a lot of potential there.
Especially if we can find a street or so that would like be the, kind of the prototype for it, or, be the demo site so that we
Yeah.
can see what's possible. And how.
There's a street I know that.
I think there's plenty. I think that's what the city.
Which one's on your list?
That's what the city of Pittsburgh has essentially found, like, once it's out, everyone wants it. And it's
Yeah.
like, you can only respond to so much, and I think that's, to Commissioner Flynn's point earlier, how can we say yes more to a process and get a thumbs up and a just general approval?
Even if I get you on the list.
Yeah,
On the list.
hey,
I don't
if
know
you
when it's
can't
gonna
afford
happen,
it, or,
but
it's
you're on the
not
list.
everybody can
Yeah.
afford it, or not everybody can step up, and that's fair, because there's a safety, the solution is coming, or you can then seek out funds or those things, so I don't know that we have a specific.
Or if you want to take matters into your own hands,
Right.
there's a process.
Yeah.
And I think that's
What
where
people
we
would
keep
like.
coming back to,
Yeah.
like, what is the process?
So we did look, I think it's almost 2 years ago at this point, we did look at the neighborhood traffic management program, and we were looking at it compared to, I believe, the publication that Mike just said is getting sunsetted. And if I recall, the Mount Lebanon document has much stricter qualification criteria than the PennDOT document did. And I wasn't there when it was written, but I kind of just read that as I had always read that as it's a triage document, like this is the emergency situation where you step in. But the assumption was always that maybe streets that have a problem but not as severe would be getting fixed somehow, like eventually. But it
Well,
seems
we have a
like don't
complete
have
streets
that.
policy and we have that's when we come in,
So,
I don't
like,
wanna
how do we
say,
get
like, we
these-
come in with a more
do we want
robust process.
Yeah.
Knowing there's issues, hey, we came through here before, we know there's the speeds are this, we know the community wants this.
So do we want to lower the this is kind of part of the reason we asked for an update on that, like the recommendation to can that program. It's like if we know it's canned, or if we know that our recommendation to replace it was shot down, maybe we should go back and say, okay, do we want to make it easier to say yes to this program, or do we want to focus on the coming up with a process to just make all that stuff happen automatically and keep the management program as the special case for really, really bad streets?
I don't think we've heard back. I know it's been on the commission agenda, but I don't think it's moved up, and I don't know the reason why. So I can follow back up with Ian about what I know and see if it goes from there, or if there's other places for it to go. I think it's unfortunately going to be punted to the active transportation plan. So just to clarify,
I just want to know if I should be looking at that attempted revising that document on the subcommittee.
I wouldn't expend your time yet.
Not yet, okay.
But no specific recommendation, I don't think, on Austin, Parkview, and Terrace yet. I'll keep it under old business because unless any other board members say so. I did want to touch on Gilkison. One, State Road, I wanted to highlight the bus slated for Gilkison, or on Gilkison and Cedar right now, is going to go away. It's not because of funding, but the proposed network that will come out this spring is going to propose not having a bus on that street anymore. Not that should change much, but it is a state road, and PennDOT defers to the municipality. I don't think Gilkison is on a list for any sort of paving in the next 10 years or any substantial change, but I'm wondering, I would like to make a recommendation via commission and the manager to either request through PennDOT or SBC for some sort of audit of that road. It's really it's like the first step of PennDOT doing something. They've since done bike ped safety audits beyond just a typical, this is done through SPC, the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission, where all transportation funding is funneled through. They do the audits, but they'll bring in folks like people from the mobility board, the transit agency, the municipality. They'll potentially bring in consultants to do a road safety audit. So I think my recommendation is, what I would make as a recommendation is that the commission/manager or whoever request via SPC/District 11 a safety audit of Gilkison Road. It is their road, and I think it's a starting point for us. We can go from there.
Rudy, was it still always there, or is it still the goal to create 4 lanes all the way to Bower Hill?
Yes.
That was my understanding, on Penner's Run, yeah.
So the other part of
That's the county though, so.
I don't understand why the county wants, I think there could be drainage and maybe turn lane stuff, but I don't understand, other than a little bit of congestion, why they want, because you've got a cliff on one side and you've got a creek on the other side.
Yeah.
But it is stayed in the next cycle of the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program. It's there.
It's been there for a long time though too.
But they kept it on this time when they were oversubscribed, and it's still there, and I can't figure it out. But we should try to fix Gilkison Road before they do that, and that maybe takes some, because the volume's on. I think in the comprehensive plan, that section had, the threshold for a road diet is 25,000 vehicles per day or below in almost every street, and I could be out of context, was 8,000 below in Mount Lebanon. So we are well below the thresholds of road diet on most of our streets. Washington might be higher post-pandemic, but
I think Washington is like 20,000.
yeah, but it's still below 25.
Yeah.
Wilkerson has a speed issue for sure.
Yes.
I mean, 100%.
Visibility, speed, like you don't see that, you don't see I can't believe there's bus stops there, not the people riding them.
Yeah.
But the sidewalk on Gilkison is, even though it's there, it's usually parked on. The sidewalk on Cedar, even though it's there, it's usually parked on. Somebody moved their trailer before I sent Rudy another email, but there was one parked on the sidewalk on Cedar. I was impressed by that extent. So that's the only, I think, item we have for recommendation, a request for a road street safety audit via SPC or District 11 of their segment of Gilkison Road. Would anyone like to second that motion?
Question, or maybe do I wait for discussion?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, then I second.
Okay, discussion?
So, is that where road safety audits come from? Is that the process for requesting them?
As I understand it, yes.
Municipality could request it through, what is the acronym again?
SPC, Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission. And so they're the ones doing the Allegheny County Safety Action Plan, which I don't think Gelkison made it on the top 10 segments. But there are streets in Mount Lebanon that have made it, not on the top 10, but they're on their list. Gilkison's one, I think it didn't meet their metrics probably because of the density, probably certain factors. So it's kind of the only step we can take, but it gets us started. And SPC has a lot of data they can bring to the table to it, but that's my understanding of the process, or our starting point for, usually it precedes any PennDOT work. They kind of pass that report off to the municipality and the district, and then when they do something with the road, they do something. We could use those materials as a board or municipality to seek out funds specific to Gilkison Road to say, hey, the bus is going away. We think there's, we need to make improvements here, even though the bus is going away, to still connect people to the Galleria outside of vehicles. And we could go after a grant, multimodal grant, and we could be armed with that audit. We could be armed with this other data, and that would move us along too. PennDOT will respond to money. If we win a grant for their road, they will do what we've asked them to do. What's that? Sorry.
The Tina Gilkison, pretty much at her address, is a little over 11,000.
Okay. So yeah, it's still, there's no turning lane on Gilkison, right? Like a road diet would,
There's a turn lane.
for certain parts, but not like, it's not like one lane in each direction with a turning lane in the middle. So,
No.
which would be nice for those people getting into their driveways, so you're not like, because I think you come over that hill at 50 miles per hour on a 25 mile per hour road, and so. Any other discussion?
What is the Mount Lebanon, where is the Mount Lebanon border on Gilkison? Is it next to Bethel Park?
Yeah,
Run right at that Bridge Street.
we're Upper St. Clair, it's Upper St. Clair there.
It's on an angle, so
Yeah.
it cuts across. Painters Run, once you cross the intersection of Cedar, where it turns to 4-lane on the other side, Painters Run, you run into St. Clair there. Yeah, so the right side of the road is still Mount Lebanon. So that pizza shop that's there and the.
So the bottom of Kelso is Upper St. Clair?
Bottom of
Correct,
Kelso.
yeah.
It's actually
Actually, part of Rob Polo
Yeah,
Park on an angle is where we process leaves, is mostly in Upper St. Clair.
Any crash at that intersection of Raw Apollo and Painter's Run is in Upper St. Clair.
Yeah, Walt's Tavern, where Walt's Tavern is today.
That probably happens often.
How about down near the Galleria?
Gallery is all in Mount Lebanon.
All in Mount Lebanon,
Yeah.
both sides of the road?
Yeah, until you get up to North Highland, then North Highland changes to Upper St. Clair.
Abbeville's Mount Lebanon.
Abbeville until you go past that first apartment complex.
But
Then it's,
Chick-fil-A is in
Chick-fil-A is in
Upper
St.
St.
Clair.
Upper St. Clair.
Yeah. But it
It's all, it's because it comes right
So
through
basically, yeah, that intersection there.
I mean, it's all of Gilkison.
Well,
Yeah.
Mount Lebanon goes Connor and all that.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct,
That's-
yes, ma'am.
So there's no potential for cooperation with other municipalities that might want to share in it?
I mean, there was an angry resident, not angry, it's not the right word, a resident of the St. Clair Woods apartment complex that would come to, I think he came out, Mount Lebanon Commission, but he would come to Port Authority board meetings as well, complaining about the intersection of Gilkison and Painters Run, but I don't think Upper St. Clair is gonna offer anything up out of the kindness of their heart. They may offer a letter of support for updates or changes, but yeah, if we're talking grant funds, so.
Just curiosity, the hill coming down from South Hills Village to Gilkison Road has a left turn lane that seems to be longer than I've ever seen any. It's there primarily to feed traffic into Gilkison, I would assume.
Yeah.
Is that unusual, or was that an exception to some rules?
It's amazing.
PennDOT.
That's a good
Yes, turning lane. Agree.
It's as long as it can be, and there has been consideration over the years, but it's been a while to try to put dual left turn lanes in there, but just with, you just couldn't, you
Great.
can't get more width out of 19 there, so they just made it as long as they could.
Well, and I think, PennDOT has a future project on Washington Road. I know there's some topography there, but is it the topography that would stop the consideration of an actual roundabout, like a true roundabout at Gilkison, Connor, and Washington Road? Because it is,
That would be awesome.
I mean,
It'd be like
it's,
a 5-lane roundabout, you get stuck in the middle.
Be like,
There's Big Ben.
be like
There's Big
Daytona
Ben.
Speedway.
Yeah.
I mean, I would welcome it. Rural counties, Crawford County is building more roundabouts than I think Allegheny County has. And I know the volumes are different, but they can, when done right, you've got a lot of room to work with here because of the slip lane off of Washington onto Gilk. Like, you've got a lot of room to work with, even a diverging, a peanut of some sort, or
We just have to teach everybody how to use the roundabout.
yeah, it slows people
That would
down.
be a quick way to do it.
There's some heavy duty volume at that intersection.
It would beat some
No,
of the
I'm
traffic.
gonna model it.
Do it, do it.
Like, what an example of what that would look
I
like.
have data from
Who's ever been to Hilton Head?
We have a motion on the board.
Both
Let's,
Avenue in Hilton Head on a Saturday when everybody's coming in, backs up for 3 miles because of the volume of traffic at a roundabout. That's exactly what that would be like.
So, in regarding the recommendation, do we have, all in favor, say aye? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes for a road safety audit request of Gilkison Road. With that, I want to make an announcement for our next meeting on Groundhog Day, February 2nd, 2026 at 6 p.m. And I will make a motion to adjourn. Any seconds?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.
For January 26th. January 26th.